Welcome back to News from the Host, and I'm here with Tanya Duncan, Managing Director of Interxion Ireland. Thank you for joining me, Tanya.
Thanks, Garry.
Yeah,
Good to be here.
And thank you so much. This is your fourth year as a partner of Host in Ireland. You were one of the originals.
That's right.
Yeah. This is our fourth plaque.
Fourth plaque, the fourth bit of bronze.
Fourth bit of bronze.
Yeah.
And you've seen a lot of change, obviously, in the market, in not only in that 4 years, but since you were in Interxion many years before.
Yeah,
that.
since 2001. We won't rehash the old stories, Garry, but yeah, there's been a lot of changes. I think in the mission of what Host in Ireland has been doing in the last 4 years, that has changed considerably as well. I think originally it was very much a marketing-driven initiative. Now, I think the scale is broader, I think the remit is broader, and I think that the challenges that the industry in Ireland is facing are different. And we talked about some of them today in today's session. Infrastructure, trying to catch up with what the industry is doing. All of these things now are coming into play, which we see Host in Ireland as a vehicle to really drive our agenda forward. Another one, educating the wider community on what data centers are about, the strategic value, etc. All of those things are so important for us, and that's why Host in Ireland is such an important voice and vehicle too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in terms of global issues, perception of data centers globally.
Yeah.
I often think, and you're part of a much bigger organization, and you're a much traveled executive, but often when you go to different places, you hear the same thing. So I'm not sure that a lot of the stuff is unique, and we even heard from Emma this morning from Tech UK. It's amazing how we're so siloed in our challenges internationally.
Yeah. There are so many perceptions or misconceptions of what this industry is about, and to me it's a very responsible industry in what we do and what we deliver to the digital infrastructure and to the digital economy. The alternatives to data centers are an extremely dispersed infrastructure which is inherently inefficient. What you do by bringing your data into data centers and managing it in the most efficient way is you responsibly manage power usage, how you manage your clients and the way they use their servers, their infrastructure themselves. So to me, it's a responsible industry.
And how
and
well
a necessary
known do you
one.
think that is? I mean, I know that people, you mentioned the word, which is two words in a data center, and immediately people jump up on the center type of aspect. They forget that actually it's only there to host, store, forward, and compute data.
Yeah, well, I suppose the data center, if you look at it in two ways. One is the physical asset, the building. You can talk about security, you can talk about backup, all those good things. Highly engineered, sophisticated building. Let's put it that way. But what's more interesting is as you allude to, what happens in a data center. So the data that resides either to be stored, or to be processed, or to be transacted. So what companies are doing, whether they're in pharmaceutical industry, whether they're in technology or whatever it might be, what they're doing together, transacting together, what they're processing, what's happening to that data is far more interesting actually.
And that's to the point where we spoke recently, where we had a discussion, I remember, about a definition of your business, or not your business, but a co-location facility, because it's gone through a metamorphosis. Whereas it used to be that secure place if you didn't want your on-premise data to. Now you are the interconnection zone of the connected planet. You are where different data comes in, rests, forwards, comes back, interconnects. And is that really where your industry or your sector of the industry is seeing itself going into that? You're the interconnector of data, and then you put a roof on it to keep the rain out. Is that sort of very simplifying it?
There's so many different analogies for our industry. I mean, the obvious one is the airport and us being the hub and the airplanes being the data moving. The passengers within the airplanes being the data moving within the facilities or to and from the facilities. It's
And Interxion, obviously, the advantage of working with you is you're pan-European.
Correct.
And you
Yes.
have then, I read recently that Marseille, for instance, is the gateway to Africa.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, it is. It's all about the interconnection. It's
Yeah.
about the networks as much as it is about the facilities.
Of course.
I mean, the facilities are, of course, highly engineered, etc.
Yeah.
But more and more our clients come to us because of, the connectivity elements, the ability to connect to the cloud, so private connections into the cloud as hybrid cloud really is taking its now established as a way to go for a lot of businesses.
And has that been driven, do you think, by just people's comfort level with the concept, or is it financial, or is it the risk assessors are saying, we need to get this critical stuff away from...
It's all three. It's all three,
right.
yeah. So it might be compliance, it might be the fact that actually now the solutions that are around are more steadfast. So, for example, going to the cloud over public internet may not have been acceptable to some companies. Now, private connections directly from a data center to the cloud acceptable. So I suppose some of the what's the word I'm looking for? The things that were holding people back. Yeah.
And time, it's not going away, this off-site cloud, whether it's virtual, hybrid or whatever.
Yes.
And just one final point then, we always talk a lot about hyperscales and the growth of the hyperscales. One interesting thing that's starting to come out is some people are outgrowing the hyperscales and they're coming back out again. Where some of them, I suppose that's only for the very large, is it? I just read recently that Dropbox, for instance, have decided when they added it all up with the cost, they're now saying, we're coming out.
Take it on yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, whereas in the last decade, the thought of a company putting up the capital to build, manage, operate their own data centers, not something that's within their core business, was not a viable option. There will be some instances where that is not appropriate. I think they're few and far between. But it's in fact the trend is the other way. That you do depend on outsourcing and third party data centers and cloud providers.
And as you say, you've got basically you're not just connecting up to your own nodes, you're connecting onto the hyperscales with on ramps and off ramps.
Exactly.
So therefore the client can have, with the security of an SLA with you, I'd suggest, they can then have the beauty of both worlds. So one final question. We're sitting here in a year's time. What's been a good year for you in Interxion Ireland, if you look back at it?
Building that community. So it's not just, of course, you need revenue growth, etc., etc. We're a business after all, but building the community, building the foundation, getting the right type of clients that you can manage and sustain what's happening. It will be a good year for us. Apart from everything that goes on in terms of the messaging, the education, the infrastructure, the policy makers, and making sure that we have the good foundation for sustainable industry in Ireland. That's as much a
further evolution of the already solid base that's there.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Tanya Duncan.
Thanks, Garry.
And come back again, and we'll have another interview with news from the hub.